Hello from Kazan. Less than an hour later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping of China are likely to be sitting down for a bilateral meeting between the two after a gap of 5 years. First structured meeting in 5 years is being watched, is being anticipated by the world, not just by India and China, but by the rest of the world. And I'm reporting to you from the media center at the BRICS Summit in Kazan. And as you can see all around me, there are thousands of media people here. But one of the key meetings that is being anticipated, that is being expected by people, is between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi. So, what is to be expected in this meeting? Like I said, this has been the one of the most tense periods in the relationship between India and China in the past 5 years. There have been the border standoff, the entire freezing of the relationship has happened. And 5 years ago, that was the only time, that was the last time when these two leaders had met in Mamlapuram or Mahabalipuram in 2019. Since then, the two armies have faced off in Ladakh in large numbers, more than 50, 60,000 troops facing off each other. And only now, 2 days before their meeting, which is scheduled, like I said, within an hour, there has been some movement forward as far as the border issue is concerned. First step in the three-step formula that India has demanded has been achieved. All areas which were friction points in the past 4.5 years have been now disengaged. That means troops have moved back. Petrol points have been made accessible to both the sides. Graziers can now go and take their cattle to the areas which were being denied to the Indian graziers by the Chinese for the past 4.5 years, in Demchok especially. And in Depsang Plains, India's right to patrol up to petrol points 10, 11, and 12 has been restored. Similarly, the Chinese have been granted what they wanted as a reciprocal arrangement. So that has happened. That is the first stage. Now, the leaders are expected to provide a larger framework of guidance for restarting the relationship. It's not going to be an easy task. There is tremendous distrust in the relationship between the two countries because of what China did and the aggressive actions taken by China. And therefore, now what we have to look at is what is the next step being suggested by the two leaders. One is, of course, that they might want to resume the special representative level talks between the two countries. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is the special representative from the Indian side. Uh, Wang Yi is the foreign minister of China, is currently the special representative from the Chinese side. And that mechanism exists to take care of negotiations between the two sides. Maybe that will be resumed. Maybe the next steps of the military de escalation on the border will take place. And I was reading an interesting piece done by one of our colleagues today, looking at bloggers and net-based articles in China. There has been a mixed reaction to the disengagement that has happened over the past 48 hours or 72 hours, where the Chinese citizens are questioning why did China give in, why did China withdraw from the areas where they were in. And it's not, as monolithic as one believes in China. There are enough skeptics even in China, and they also voice their opinion on some of the muted, of course, but on the blogs and chat rooms, which is now clearly evident because if one can get into the language, which is hard, and Resham, our colleague, has actually looked at the blogs and come up with what the comments have been. That is something interesting to watch. That while in India we say that we have lost land, some of the critics of the government keep saying that already Chinese are there in some of the areas which they were not in there earlier. On the Chinese side, citizens are saying that why have you given in to the pressure from India? Now that is something interesting, and I think both the leaders have to contend with domestic pressures. India more so because India is a democratic country. And therefore, the business community in India is also putting pressure on the government to try and resolve the standoff or the tense relationship with China, because they believe that many of the raw materials, many of the expertise that is available with China is not available elsewhere or is too expensive. And therefore, business should come first. But of course, the government has to balance the national security considerations with the business community's sentiment or demand. And therefore, I think over the past 6 months, there has been a concerted effort. All of government approach has been taken where voices are being now heard from different sections of the society, where people are saying that how long will you continue with this standoff? Can there be a new approach that can be found where you deter China militarily, but don't sort of stop the overall relationship, which has been China's demand? And so far, India has been very clear that unless some of these steps that are needed to be taken are taken, there should be no movement forward on other aspects of the relationship. So this disengagement in Ladakh, which happened, which Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said yesterday, is limited to those two outstanding issues, which is Depsang and Demchok, is a starting point. And I which I said yesterday, I've said this again, we have put out articles on this, that this is only a first step or half a step in a long journey ahead to rebuild trust and to regain confidence in each other. The militaries will probe each other. The business communities will try and rebuild ties with each other, although the ties are better than what they are between military to military. But I think the onus lies on President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi to find a modus vivendi, a new modus vivendi, to look at how India and China, two of the most populous countries in the world, two of the most important economies in the world, can actually see to it that the differences that they have and the distrust that has developed over the last 4.5 years can be sort of worked upon, trust can be rebuilt, and some solutions found for various purposes. I think India is going to put its guard, keep its guard up. It's not going to put the guard down militarily or otherwise. And therefore, we'll have to also wait and watch what are the next steps for the winter deployment in Ladakh. What will the Chinese agree to? Will they say, okay, we will do de-escalation, which means uh, go back and remove all the temporary structures that have been built in Aksai Chin along the LAC, or they will hold on to it, and then India will have to start putting pressure again. It's going to be a long process, but therefore the eyes are on, all eyes are on the meeting, less than an hour away here in Kazan. As we speak, they are actually finishing their plenary session in the main plenary session of the Leaders Summit. And once that happens, just before he emplanes for Delhi, Prime Minister Modi will have this bilateral meeting. Remember, with him in the delegation is the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, both are present. And of course, they will have their inputs, they will have their advice. But role of the NSA will remain crucial, given that he is the
Yes, yes,
special
yes.
representative for. This is the live thing that has been shown to you, where all the leaders are speaking one by one. President Putin spoke, then I just heard President Xi Jinping speaking. The President of Egypt has spoken, and I think now the Prime Minister is likely to speak. And then before emplaning, he's going to have this meeting. So let's wait and watch. I'll come back to you with more, and maybe the outcomes if we get the briefing from India's spokesperson for the MEA or even the foreign secretary like yesterday. And then we will analyze it further, that where is this relationship going. BRICS Summit, of course, is important. Several new approaches, new decisions are being taken in the BRICS Summit. Expansion has taken place. 5 new members have joined in this particular edition, 16th edition of the BRICS Summit. But we will talk about it all that later. For the moment, that all that I have is to tell you that all eyes are on the Modi Xi meeting in less than an hour. For the time being, it's goodbye.